things that I really like to advocate for is rights for people with disabilities. Me myself, I suffer from a disability, and I've been going through things where I try to go vote, and they told me that I can't vote because of my disability, and being stripped of that right is ultimately one of those driving forces that just keeps me going when it comes to wanting to advocate for the ones around me. And when you start thinking about the policies in terms of gun violence, it's ultimately the same thing. At what point are, like, how it gets to the idea of, like, a lot of politicians want to just get rid of being able to bear arms and as a collective, but it isn't fair to punish the good people who carry weapons for the bad actions of the bad people who carry weapons. So again, it goes back to what I was saying. How can we try to find a way to really hold the bad people accountable while still being able to uphold the Constitution and uphold the good people who are, bearing arms?
And Daryl and everyone, Zoe, I got a question coming to you. But before I get to that question, I just want to remind everyone that there was something called the assault weapons ban. During the period that the assault weapons ban was in effect, it banned, all these AR-14s, 15s. None of that stuff was allowed to be sold. And they confiscated and asked people to turn in as many of those weapons that were out in the streets as possible. During that time, school shootings went down significantly, almost disappeared. It's the prevalence of guns, the kinds of guns, the prevalence of them. You can recognize and respect the Second Amendment and not at the same time have every military weapon in the hands of civilians and on the streets. So I just want to remind people that assault weapons ban was extremely effective during the period that it was in effect, but it was repealed because people thought, it should be repealed. And then we saw this massive era of school shootings, take place. But in any event, I wanted to get to you, Zoe.
Can I jump in on that? Can I jump in to that before you go over to Zoe? Because, you're absolutely right with regards to the assault weapons ban that was in place. But the other thing, Barbara, that folks need to remember is that Congress, and this is the reason that we talk about, being mindful of your vote and who you're voting for. Congress in 2005 passed legislation that was the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. And what that did is that, and it's in the books to this day, is that it prohibits individuals who are harmed from gun violence from suing certain dealers and manufacturers.
Exactly. Yes.
We need folks to take up
another part.
Barbara.
Yes. That's another part. And the rise of the NRA and all the rest of it, National Rifle Association. But Zoe, getting into as a Black woman, I've been watching, all these stories, on Harris. I'm switching themes right now for a minute, everyone, switching subjects. And I've been really taken by, of course, the racial and gender, quote-based coverage of this election. And what we've been asking all our guests for the last month is, when you look at the mainstream media's coverage of the 2024 election, the racial aspects of the election, what grade would you give them? From a grade of A, meaning excellent, to F, meaning failure, what grade would you give them?
I think based off of the coverage of Kamala Harris from what I've seen on my feed, I would give them a low C, high D, because I don't understand what the fact that she's a Black woman has to do with her qualifications to run as president. Me personally, especially in the sense that we're talking about gun violence. I think that Kamala Harris, partnered with Joe Biden, have done more for gun violence legislation than that's been done in the past 30 years. When we saw the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which I was fortunate and blessed enough to be able to attend the talking of that in person at the White House, that was some of the biggest legislation we've seen passed in the last 3 decades. And so the fact that she's able to do something like that, along with paired with numerous amazing things I'm sure she's done, her qualifications have nothing to do with the fact that she's a Black woman. If anything, in my opinion, it just adds to her list of amazing capabilities.
Same question to you, Ja. What grade would you give the media?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes.
Yes, the media. So definitely, I say for the media, definitely like a C, going into that D range. Ultimately, America, the society as a whole, generally do not like the idea of change. Change is always something that a lot of people struggle with, and the simple idea of having not only another person of color to be the face of the country, but also a woman to be the face of the country is really, I think, what's tearing a lot of people away from wanting to vote for Kamala Harris. And ultimately, once we're able to get over that mental battle of this is not how it's supposed to be, this is not how it's always been, like I want to keep it the way it was, like we need to retire that type of ideology, retire that just infected mentality, and understand that at the end of the day, the country is at stake. And this is one of the most, I confidently say this is the most vital election that we are going to see since the country has been a country. And at the end of the day, Kamala Harris, she faces a lot of backlash because she's a colored woman, and that shouldn't be the case. At the end of the day, kind of like Zoe said, what does her race or what does her gender has to do with her qualifications?
Amen. And we are, of course, a nonpartisan organization, people. We are not here to advocate for any one candidate or the other, but we definitely have a policy position. Daryl, as we get ready to close our show, and I just can't begin to thank our amazing guests for your being here and for your personal courage, your personal leadership in this arena of fighting for gun control. Thank you so much for everything you have done. We want you to, in 1 minute, as we close, can you tell people your final thought and how do people get in touch with you if they would like to follow up with you as a speaker, as someone to be an advisor? Please do that right now. Zoe, first.
Of course. So for C and Survivors Embracing Each Other, if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can go to just Survivors Embracing Each Other. If you'd like to follow me personally, you can go to Zoe_Touray. And I'm pretty sure that's the same for LinkedIn, all that, Facebook, all the social medias. And just a general thank you to TJC, because I had the absolute best time with you all last December. And you are the reason that I found out about CBC. And you are also the reason that we are now with C, along with TAI, bringing a group of our own to CBC this weekend. And I'll touch down tomorrow night. So I'm so thankful for you all. And I love it. Yes. So thank you so much.
I can't wait. You got to come by and see us. Oh, so happy to hear that. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Jaheim, same of you. How do people get in contact with you and your closing thoughts? And if you had a question you could ask those candidates tonight, what would that question be?
So definitely a closing thought would just be to everyone who is tuned into the show, make sure you register to vote. That deadline is coming up very soon, and make sure that you take that registration a step further and make sure you actually do go vote. A lot of times our registration numbers are very high, but our actual voting numbers does not reflect the amount of people who are actually registered. So make sure you register, make sure you go vote. This election is very pivotal to our lives in general. Just make sure you go vote. That's all I can stress. Vote, vote, vote.
And as far as get in contact with you.
Yeah, as far as reaching out to me, you can DM me on Instagram. That's _O .ja. That's _OHDATS.JA.
All right, thank you for that, and thank you to both Jaheim McRae and to Konoba Zoe Touray for being with us today and for all that you're doing, taking your pain and turning it into power, turning it into purpose and helping other people. We so much are appreciative of that. We look forward to having this class that's coming in from all over the country, coming to CBC Weekend for this training that will begin tomorrow. Zoe and Jay, hope both of you can stop by to visit us during the training and certainly during the reception. Folks, it is voting time. It is voting time. It is voting time. It's time to check your voting status. Go to vote41.org or vote.org and check your voting status and know what your voting status is. Barbara, before I close it out, anything you want to add?
Yes, everyone, we're on our way to Jacksonville next week. We'll be there the 21st for the first of our I'll Rise and Vote voter activations and concert series. And we want to make sure that if you are in Jacksonville, Florida, tell everybody you know to show up and show out. We're going to be at the Lonnie Miller Regional Park. We're going to be registering voters. We're going to be helping people check their voter registration. We're going to also be helping people who are formerly incarcerated know what their voting status is. But more importantly, we're going to also have music. We're going to have all kinds of, food trucks will be there. There's going to be, DJs. There's going to be dancing. There's going to be free, T-shirts, all kinds of giveaways. We want people to get their vote on. We will be doing this around the country. This is the first of 12 such activations we're going to do around the country. We're going to talk more about that next week. But come on, folks. September 21st, tell everybody you know in Jacksonville, Florida, to be at Lonnie Miller Regional Park from 1 to 6 on
Folks,
the 21st.
It's time to get off the sidewalks, get into the street. Let's make a change. Let's begin that change with you. Let's watch the debate tonight. Cheer as you cheer, but more importantly, vote. Be certain to get out there and vote. Till next Tuesday, noon Eastern Standard Time. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
The preceding program was paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. I care deeply about creating a world we can all fully participate in, free from stigma, misperceptions, and barriers. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Rooted in communities nationwide, Easter Seals helps empower millions of people, regardless of age or disability, through its life-changing services and powerful advocacy. Today and every day, Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
95.9 WOL with the Carl Nelson Show. Weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. Reverend Al Sharpton keeping it real from 1 to 4 p.m. And the Tavis Smiley Show from 4 to 7 p.m. Download our mobile app and take us everywhere you are or listen live at WOLDCnews.com. The news and issues that matter to you most from Carl Nelson, Reverend Al Sharpton, and Tavis Smiley on 1450 and 95.9 WOL. WOL Washington, D.C. W240DJ Washington. 95.9 WMMJ HD3 Bethesda. WKYS HD3 Washington. WPRS HD3 Waldorf and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions of the following...